Once you've completed a design for assembly analysis using the design for assembly software, there are four things that we point people towards in order to help you come up with redesign ideas for your product. The first one is very simple. You can simply right-click here on the structure chart. From the structure chart view menu at the bottom, we can pick minimum parts. And by doing so, the software replaces the icons next to the names of parts, subassemblies, and operations with green, red, and orange circles. These represent parts that meet and don't meet the minimum part criteria. Green parts are required to be separate because they meet the minimum part criteria. Red parts are candidates for elimination. Orange items show up because they are either operations or they're subassemblies, which in theory are also not required to be separate and could potentially be eliminated from the analysis. From the reports menu, we can select the structure chart report, and we'd be able to print this or export it if we wanted to with the indication of whether or not the parts meet the theoretical minimum right on the structure chart. As you're going through the analysis, we always encourage people to put information into the notes box. And one of the reports you can get at the end of the analysis is the notes report. And that simply shows back to you all of the information you typed into the notes box broken out by part name. And so we can see here all of the ideas that we captured as we were going through the analysis, all of the things that we thought of, all of the reasons we answered the questions the way we did could be captured here and saved and then later communicated through export to PDF or text or simply printing out the report and sharing the results with others in your design team. So those are two things, the structure chart with the green and red circles and the notes report. The other one is the software itself has suggestions for redesign report, where it will run through and look at how you answered all of the questions and then make recommendations back to you on what you could do to simplify the design from a part count and an ease of assembly standpoint. And it breaks it up into categories. And so what we see here on the report is broken out into groups. The first one says, incorporate integral fastening elements into functional parts in order to eliminate as many of the following separate fasteners. What the software is showing us here is that if we could eliminate the motor screws, that would save us 17.3 seconds, or roughly 9% of our assembly time. Approximately 43% of our assembly time in this product is spent simply putting things in it that don't do anything other than hold other things together. So that's an interesting result by itself. You can see here the software has pulled out from this list items that are candidates for combination with other parts in the product. The bushings, the standoff, the grommet, and the cover are all things based on how we've answered the questions that the software believes in theory we could go about eliminating through combination with other pieces in the product. So there are several pages to this report, and again, it can be printed, it can be exported to communicate the results with your team. So those three pieces of information are really a lot of data to be able to take and copy the tab and start thinking about the different redesign ideas. If you have done DFM analysis on the parts, or you have included the piece part costs from either an existing bill of materials or you've typed them in as you went through the analysis, the one thing that's missing from that data set that we looked at is an indication of where the cost is in your product. And so we can find that by going to the View menu and choosing Product Worksheet. This would be the fourth thing that we look toward. And this product worksheet contains all of the information sort of behind the scenes in the analysis. And by default, it looks like this. But if I go to the View menu and I pick Product Worksheet again, I can predefine custom views by turning on and off different columns if I want to. So right now, I'm just going to go to this Customize option. And from this little dialog that pops up, I'm going to select Filtering and Ordering. And what I can do is I can sort this worksheet. So down in the lower left-hand corner, I'm going to pick Sorted Order. And what I want to do is I want to sort by first minimum items in ascending order. So that's going to take everything that doesn't meet the theoretical minimum, and it's going to move it to the top of this list. And then I want to sort by, and it's down at the bottom here, total cost, which is the cost of the parts plus the cost of the labor, in descending order. And so what's going to happen when I press this OK button is the software is going to take the part that doesn't meet the theoretical minimum and has the largest cost, total cost, and put it at the top. So what I'll get is a list that shows me in descending order where I want to focus my efforts. And so if I scroll across to the total cost column here, which we can see out here at the end, this total cost field, you can see that they're now sorted in that descending order of total cost impact. So along with the green and red circles on the structure chart, my notes, the suggestions for redesign from the software, I can start now with this list to focus in on where do I really want to focus my efforts to maximize my return. I can spend an awful lot of time trying to figure out how to combine the grommet with the end plate and save myself 29 cents, or I could focus my efforts on the bushings or the standoffs and get at the $10 and $3 respectively that are tied up in the cost of those parts. So taking those 4 pieces of information, using them with your team to facilitate the brainstorming exercises, you can then copy the tab and start to model the different redesign scenarios and see what the impact of those decisions would likely be on the bottom line cost of your product.